I'm not leaving this motherfucking parking lot till I find my wallet. Motherfuckers tried to kill you today. So what? Let them come on out here. I've been looking for them and they've been looking for me. And goddamn it, we can meet right here on the motherfucking concrete and start like a motherfucker right now. Come on.
On September 4th, 2023, at approximately 2 a.m., 27-year-old Donae Wilbert was shot and killed outside the Hollywood Coney Island restaurant in Detroit, Michigan. The incident followed a verbal altercation inside the establishment involving two men and a woman. Donae Wilbert was not part of the conflict. Witnesses say she attempted to de-escalate the situation. Minutes later, after exiting the restaurant, she was shot in the parking lot.
A family is grieving right now after their daughter was shot and killed outside of Detroit, Coney Island over the weekend.
They say it all started with a dispute with other customers at the restaurant. Jacqueline Francis sat down with the family and has their message tonight. Jacqueline.
They don't know exactly what that argument was about, but they do know that it took the life of a 27-year-old mother who had so much to live for.
She was always dancing and always smiling. She was such a great person. And if the person that did this to her would have known her for about 10 minutes, he wouldn't have never harmed her.
What started as a 3 a.m. dispute with other customers at a Coney Island in Detroit ended with gunfire. 27-year-old Donae Wilbert's family said she was trying to get away from the conflict when it followed her.
She went to her car, and my understanding is she was shot when she was outside of her car, and she is the only one that was shot.
She died at the hospital, her family devastated, telling us the young mother had plans to get engaged, plans to start a new job, a whole life ahead of her.
I'm so at peace with knowing that even within this tragic situation, that my daughter still went out peacefully, because when we identified and viewed her body, my daughter still had a smile on her face, and she looked very peaceful.
But what they can't accept is the senseless gun violence.
I really want people to understand that she was a person, not a statistic.
A friend,
she was my daughter,
a cousin.
Yes.
I just never thought that I would ever have to post on social media RIP, and definitely not for my child.
We just heard back from police. They say that there are no updates on this case at this time. That means there have been no arrests. Anyone with information is asked to call police or 1-800-SPEAK-UP. Reporting live from Detroit Police Headquarters, Jacqueline Francis, Local 4.
Just awful. Okay, Jacqueline.
No arrests have been made. No suspect have been publicly identified. There's surveillance footage. There were multiple witnesses present. As of the latest reports, the case remains unsolved. Wilbert was pronounced dead at the scene. The shooter fled. The motive has not been confirmed. Investigators have not released details regarding the weapon used, the number of shots fired, or whether Wilbert was the intended target. This case raises several questions. Who fired the weapon? What was the exact sequence of events inside and outside the restaurant? Did anyone involved in the initial altercation know Wilbert? Was her intervention seen as interference? Law enforcement requested the public's assistance, but no breakthrough has been announced. The crime occurred in a public space with security cameras and witnesses, yet the investigation has stalled. This report will examine the timeline of events, the known facts, the unanswered questions, and the current status of the investigation. The objective is to document what happened, identify gaps in the case, and assess how a homicide with multiple witnesses and video surveillance could remain unresolved. This is the case of Donae Wilbert, a woman who attempted to stop a conflict and was killed shortly after. The facts are on record. The outcome is final. The details are now under review. Stay with us as we unravel this shocking story and uncover the heartbreaking details of what led to this senseless loss. If you enjoy real crime stories that uncover the truth, don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us share real cases, spread awareness, and give a voice to those who can't speak for themselves. Before we begin, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? And what are your thoughts as the story unfolds? Welcome to True Crime Tales, where we reveal the crimes that shock communities and the secrets hidden behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Now let's begin. Donae Wilbert was a 27-year-old woman born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. At the time of her death, she was the mother of one daughter. Her child was central to her life, and all of her decisions and lifestyle reflected a focus on providing stability for that child. She did not have a public-facing profession with high visibility, but she was known to take on jobs that allowed her to manage both income and parenting duties. Her roles were often within customer service and small business environments. She was not unemployed and was not known to have any criminal affiliations or records. Her mother, LaDonna Kemp, describes her daughter as someone who consistently took on the role of problem solver in the family and among peers. She was recognized in her neighborhood for stepping into arguments or conflicts, not to escalate them, but to resolve them. She had a reputation for being the person who could calm people down and talk sense into friends, strangers, and even family members. This was not a performance trait, but a pattern observed by multiple individuals who encountered her in public spaces and private settings. Community members in her residential area confirmed that Donae Wilbert was frequently seen assisting others without expecting reciprocity. She was known to give rides, mediate disputes, and offer advice to younger girls in her area. Her approach was not built on formal activism, but on consistent informal intervention. There is no record of her being a member of any official community organization or outreach group, but those who knew her said she did not need a title to act in a peacekeeping role. According to residents near her home, she did this regularly, at local stores, family events, and even in public transportation situations. According to her mother, Donae spent most of her free time focused on family. She lived a private life and avoided confrontations unless others were in danger or chaos was unfolding. She was described as cautious but assertive. Her daily routine included preparing her daughter for school, handling errands for relatives, and often helping friends with personal problems. She used social media sparingly and was not active as an influencer or content creator. She had no known disputes or conflicts in her personal life at the time of her death. Friends interviewed after her death describe her as the voice of reason and the calm in the storm. This pattern of stepping into disputes was not new or random. There were past incidents at parties or public spaces where she reportedly defused tense arguments by physically placing herself between the involved individuals. While she had never been injured in these scenarios before, those close to her said they worried that one day she might be harmed while trying to intervene. Despite warnings from some family members that she should avoid inserting herself into volatile situations, she continued to do so when she perceived a threat to someone else. Donae did not hold any political roles or participate in formal protests. However, her family believed she could have been a community leader if she had chosen that path. Her instincts leaned toward defense of the vulnerable and de-escalation of aggression. She had ambitions to become a business owner, potentially starting a child care service based on her love for children and her experiences as a mother. According to her cousin, she had discussed this idea multiple times in 2022 and 2023, but had not yet secured the financial resources to begin. Her home life was described as stable. She lived independently, maintained a clean residence, and kept close ties to her extended family. She had no known history of drug use, violence, or legal trouble. She was not affiliated with any gang, nor was she involved in any romantic relationship at the time that raised concerns among her relatives. Surveillance of her digital footprint found nothing abnormal or concerning that might suggest a motive behind the attack that would later take her life. Should people intervene in public altercations if they lack protection? Does a pattern of de-escalation make someone more vulnerable in high-risk settings? What mechanisms exist to protect community peacekeepers like Donae when they take on roles the system neglects? On the night of Saturday, September 3rd, 2023, Donae Wilbert, a 27-year-old Detroit resident, was out with a group of friends. The evening began with casual socializing at a local bar, reportedly located within city limits on the west side. Witnesses later told police that Wilbert had not been drinking heavily and had remained composed throughout the evening. She was described as calm and alert. Sometime after 1:30 a.m. on Sunday, September 4th, 2023, the group made their way to Hollywood Coney Island, a 24-hour diner located on the 15400 block of Schaefer Highway in Detroit. The restaurant is known for late-night crowds and has been a frequent location for post-clubbing gatherings. Surveillance footage confirmed the group's arrival at approximately 1:50 a.m. Wilbert, dressed casually and unarmed, entered with her group and was seated near the front of the establishment. Shortly after their arrival, an argument erupted between two unidentified men and a woman near the restaurant center. The nature of the conflict remains unclear. However, staff and customers reported that it quickly escalated to shouting, aggressive movements, and threats. At this point, Donae Wilbert, who was not connected to the individuals involved, reportedly stood up and approached the group. Multiple eyewitnesses confirmed that Wilbert calmly asked the individuals to stop the confrontation. She did not raise her voice or engage in any form of aggression. Her actions were described as direct but non-threatening. Restaurant staff attempted to intervene simultaneously, but Wilbert was already speaking with the group. Her efforts appeared successful. Within a few minutes, the situation de-escalated. The individuals stopped shouting, and the immediate threat seemed to subside. By 2:07 a.m., Wilbert and her friends had finished their meals and prepared to leave the restaurant. Surveillance footage shows her exiting first. She appeared calm, unaware of any impending danger. According to the police report and witness interviews, one of the men from the earlier altercation exited the restaurant shortly after. It is unclear whether he had any prior interaction with Wilbert beyond the incident she attempted to de-escalate. The moment of the shooting occurred at approximately 2:09 a.m. in the parking lot directly outside the restaurant. One witness, who remained inside the restaurant but had a clear view of the lot, reported hearing multiple gunshots in quick succession, estimated to be between 3 to 5. Surveillance footage from the exterior confirmed this account. The suspect fled the scene immediately, running on foot toward a nearby street. No vehicle was positively identified in connection with the shooter. Wilbert was struck multiple times. Responding officers from the Detroit Police Department arrived within minutes after multiple 911 calls were made at 2:10 a.m. Upon arrival, officers found Wilbert unresponsive on the pavement beside a parked vehicle. EMS personnel arrived shortly after and pronounced her dead at the scene due to gunshot wounds. A brief canvass of the area was conducted that morning, but no weapon was recovered. Investigators collected shell casings and reviewed security footage from the restaurant and nearby businesses. However, the suspect had already disappeared, and no arrest was made that night. The incident resulted in temporary closure of the restaurant for investigation. Staff and patrons were interviewed, and security footage was reviewed within hours. As of now, police have not confirmed whether the shooter was one of the individuals involved in the earlier fight or someone else entirely. No motive has been publicly disclosed, and no suspect has been officially named. The Detroit Police Department has stated that the investigation is ongoing. Why was she targeted? Was this premeditated? Or did something escalate unexpectedly outside? Could security or police presence have deterred the shooter? What role does community silence or fear play in unsolved cases like this? What happens when those who try to keep peace become the victims? It was just after 2 a.m. on Sunday, September 4th, 2023, when first responders received a 911 call reporting gunfire outside the Hollywood Coney Island restaurant, located on the west side of Detroit, Michigan. The call came in fast, chaotic background noise, people screaming, and a caller trying to describe a woman lying motionless in the parking lot. Within minutes, officers from the Detroit Police Department and EMS arrived at the scene. Upon arrival, first responders found 27-year-old Donae Wilbert unresponsive, lying on her back in a pool of blood in the restaurant's parking lot. She had sustained multiple gunshot wounds. There were no signs of movement or consciousness. Emergency medics attempted to provide CPR and other life-saving measures on site, but it was quickly determined that she was deceased. Her injuries were too severe, and she was pronounced dead at the scene. Police secured the perimeter of the restaurant, taping off the parking lot and interviewing bystanders. The initial scene assessment revealed no signs of an ongoing altercation at the time of arrival. The area had partially cleared, and those still present were visibly shaken. Detectives immediately began canvassing for evidence, while officers took preliminary statements from those on site. Witnesses reported that a verbal altercation had taken place inside the restaurant involving two men and a woman. According to multiple accounts, Donae Wilbert had attempted to intervene, acting as a de-escalator during the confrontation. Witnesses described her as calm, stepping between the parties to prevent the dispute from escalating. The individuals involved in the argument reportedly left the restaurant after the confrontation cooled down. Shortly after Donae exited the establishment, several gunshots were heard outside. Eyewitnesses stated that the shooting occurred quickly and without warning. They saw someone approach Donae near the parking lot entrance, and then shots were fired. Most witnesses claimed they did not get a clear look at the shooter's face or clothing due to the angle, darkness, and shock of the moment. There were no immediate arrests made at the scene. The victim was found fully clothed in casual attire, consistent with someone returning from a night out. Her personal belongings were still on her: cell phone, ID, and small purse. There were no indications that robbery was a motive. Police found shell casings on the ground near her body, believed to be from a handgun, although they did not publicly disclose the caliber. One major concern at the scene was the lack of cooperation from certain individuals. Detectives reported difficulty getting detailed or consistent statements from witnesses. Some refused to talk. Others claimed not to have seen anything. Whether due to fear of retaliation or distrust in law enforcement, the reluctance to come forward delayed the development of any suspect profile. Regarding physical evidence, no firearm was recovered at the scene. The weapon used in the shooting has not been found. No immediate forensic leads, such as fingerprints or DNA from the weapon, were available. Ballistics were taken from the shell casings, but the results have not been released publicly. Police have not stated whether the weapon has been used in any other known crimes. Surveillance footage became a key focus of the investigation. Hollywood Coney Island, like many restaurants operating late at night in Detroit, had exterior and interior cameras. Police obtained footage from both the restaurant and nearby businesses. According to sources, the footage captured the altercation inside the restaurant and showed Wilbert attempting to mediate the conflict. However, the outdoor footage was less conclusive. While cameras outside reportedly captured the moment just before the shooting, the angle and lighting conditions did not provide a clear view of the shooter's face. Investigators also reviewed nearby traffic and parking lot cameras to track the movement of vehicles that left the scene around the time of the shooting. No license plates or vehicle descriptions have been officially released. It remains unclear whether a getaway vehicle was involved or whether the suspect fled on foot. Initial press statements from the Detroit Police Department confirmed the death of Donae Wilbert and classified the incident as a homicide. However, authorities have withheld further details, citing the open investigation. They encourage the public to come forward with any information and offer reward for tips leading to an arrest. Despite these efforts, as of the last public update, no suspect has been identified or charged. In summary, the crime scene presented law enforcement with a difficult starting point: a high-traffic location, limited cooperation from witnesses, no murder weapon, and partial video coverage. These factors combined to stall progress in the case. The absence of concrete physical evidence and the failure to obtain a suspect description have contributed to the ongoing unsolved status of Donae Wilbert's murder. The critical question remains: why did a woman who stepped in to break up a fight become the one to lose her life? And what can be done to ensure that those responsible are held accountable? In the days following the murder of 27-year-old Donae Wilbert outside the Hollywood Coney Island restaurant in Detroit, the response from her family and the surrounding community was immediate. Wilbert, a mother, daughter, and friend to many, was mourned by those who describe her as someone who routinely helped others and often acted as a calming force in difficult situations. Her family members, especially her mother LaDonna Kemp, spoke publicly to local media. They described Donae as someone who would step into dangerous situations to protect others. Kemp stated that her daughter had a heart for people and always wanted peace. These statements circulated widely in local news coverage and drew attention on social media platforms. Family and friends expressed frustration, anger, and fear that her killer was still at large, while simultaneously praising Wilbert's character and courage. A candlelight vigil was held at the site of the shooting just days after her death. Attendees included family members, community advocates, and concerned citizens. They lit candles, prayed and held signs with her photo, demanding justice. Several participants called for increased safety around late-night establishments and accountability for rising gun violence. Wilbert's funeral took place on September 15, 2023, at the James H. Cole Home for Funerals in Detroit. The service was open to the public and saw a large turnout. The ceremony featured speeches from her family and spiritual leaders. Her obituary was made publicly available online through the funeral home's memorial page, where visitors left dozens of condolence messages. In addition to the formal funeral, an online tribute to Donae was established on the National Gun Violence Memorial website, gunmemorial.org. Her profile received over 700 virtual candles within weeks of her death, indicating a strong online response and nationwide awareness. Supporters on platforms such as Facebook and Instagram shared news reports, personal memories, and calls for justice under the hashtag #JusticeForDonae. Despite the social visibility, no new information about the suspect emerged from these efforts. The city of Detroit did not release any official statement acknowledging Donae Wilbert's death. There were no city-sponsored memorials or public acknowledgments from local officials. The response, or lack thereof, underscored broader concerns about how the city addresses the deaths of Black women, particularly in cases involving unsolved gun violence. Some community activists voiced disappointment, arguing that had the circumstances been different, more institutional pressure and media coverage might have followed. The Detroit Police Department, DPD, was quick to confirm that a homicide investigation had been opened in connection to Wilbert's killing. Officers responded to crime scene the night of the incident, collected statements from witnesses, and reviewed available surveillance footage. Initial reports confirmed that Donae had been shot multiple times and that the suspect had fled the scene before police arrived. However, the department did not name a suspect, and no arrest was made in the immediate aftermath. DPD urged anyone with information to contact their homicide division or submit anonymous tips through Crime Stoppers. Flyers were posted online and near the scene of the shooting, offering a monetary reward for information leading to an arrest. The investigation timeline suggested that police attempted to trace connections between those involved in the altercation inside the restaurant and possible suspects. Still, little actionable evidence emerged. Challenges quickly became apparent. Investigators reportedly face a lack of cooperation from some potential witnesses. Fear of retaliation, distrust of law enforcement, or desire to avoid involvement may have contributed to the silence. As of early 2024, police had not made any public announcement identifying a suspect or providing a motive for the murder. The lack of updates also fueled speculation within the community. Social media posts questioned whether the case was being actively pursued. Others wondered if potential leads had gone cold due to poor witness participation or minimal resources allocated to the case. As of now, no arrests have been made. The case remains officially unsolved. No major press conference has been held since the initial incident. DPD has not provided a formal case update to the media. Requests for information continue to be met with standard statements about the ongoing nature of the investigation. Crime Stoppers has left the reward open, and the case remains listed among Detroit's unsolved homicides. Despite the passage of time, family members continue to demand accountability. Community members call on the public to come forward. And many still ask a central question. Why has no one been arrested for the murder of a woman whose only known action was try and stop a fight? In the days following the fatal shooting of Donae Wilbert on September 4th, 2023, several local media outlets reported on the incident. Fox 2 Detroit was one of the first to cover the story. Their reports described the 27-year-old victim as a young mother who died trying to de-escalate a fight between three individuals outside the Hollywood Coney Island restaurant in Detroit. They interviewed family members, including her mother, who confirmed Donae's role as a peacemaker that night. The outlet provided early footage and statements from friends and relatives, framing Donae as a calm individual who regularly helped others. Click on Detroit, WDIV-TV, also ran a story that aligned with the Fox 2 coverage. Their report focused on the timeline of the incident, highlighting that Wilbert was trying to stop a fight before being followed outside and shot. Both outlets featured similar witness accounts and stressed that the suspect remained at large. Click on Detroit's coverage included commentary from Detroit police, who indicated that no arrests have been made, but that the investigation was ongoing. YouTube-based platforms that focus on urban crime or community news uploaded clips summarizing the incident, some using unverified sources or compiling social media footage. These videos garnered thousands of views and comments, indicating significant public attention in the first week after murder. The online discussions were largely centered around questions of safety, urban gun violence, and the recurring narrative of bystanders becoming victims. The media's framing of the case initially portrayed Donae Wilbert as a local hero, a civilian who stepped in to prevent violence. This depiction was repeated in quotes from her family and friends, who describe her as someone who never hesitated to resolve conflict. However, this narrative did not receive sustained national attention. Within 10 days of the incident, coverage began to decline. No major national networks followed up on the story, and regional outlets only provided occasional mentions in crime blotter updates. Public perception, as gauged through comments on news articles and YouTube videos, reflected a mix of sympathy, anger, and frustration. Viewers questioned why someone would target a woman, clearly trying to help. Others criticized the recurring nature of unsolved gun crimes in Detroit and the apparent lack of follow-through once media interest fades. By mid-October 2023, media attention had significantly diminished. News outlets had no new developments to report, and the case dropped out of the active rotation of crime stories. Even on social media, mentions of Donae Wilbert's death became sparse, except for posts from friends or memorial pages calling for justice. The status of the case as of now is officially unsolved. There have been no public arrests, no suspect identifications released to the media, and no significant press briefings from the Detroit Police Department. The case appears to be cold, with minimal public updates since the initial reporting. Detroit police have indicated that the investigation remains open, but no new leads have been publicly acknowledged. Community frustration has increased, particularly among those close to the victim. Several commenters on Wilbert's online memorial page have voiced concerns about the lack of urgency from law enforcement. The family has made multiple public appeals, but they have not been able to secure the kind of widespread media coverage or public support necessary to reignite the investigation. The absence of arrests has led to speculations and conspiracy theories in some corners of social media. One theory suggests that Wilbert may have been intentionally targeted for reasons unrelated to the fight she intervened in. Another theory proposes that the shooter was known in the community and that fear of retaliation has kept witnesses silent. However, no verified evidence supports these claims, and authorities have not confirmed any motive beyond the immediate altercation. The Detroit Police Department has provided minimal commentary on the lack of progress. In general statements, they have urged the public to come forward with information and stated that the case remains priority. However, no concrete updates, no suspect sketches, and no crime alerts have been distributed to the public since the original press releases. To date, the shooting death of Donae Wilbert remains an open case with no identified suspect, no arrest, and no official explanation for why she was killed. The public interest that followed her death has faded. The media coverage that once described her as a hero has gone silent. And the question remains, what happened to the person who pulled the trigger? The death of 27-year-old Donae Wilbert outside a Detroit Coney Island restaurant on September 4th, 2023, exposes more than just a tragedy of a life cut short. It points directly to a network of systemic failures. This section examines for critical factors contributing to this unresolved case: the lack of safety in Detroit's nightlife spaces, police under-resourcing, the disparity in how Black women victims are treated by media and investigations, and the real dangers of stepping in as a bystander to help others. Detroit's after-hours culture is known for its energy, but it also carries a persistent risk of violence. Restaurants like the Hollywood Coney Island, open late into the night, become high-risk areas for confrontations. Fights, shootings, and armed disputes are not isolated incidents. In this context, Donae Wilbert's murder is not just tragic. It is part of a repeated pattern. There are limited security measures in these areas. Very few establishments maintain consistent private security or collaborate with law enforcement to reduce criminal activity. Public surveillance is also inconsistent. In the case of Wilbert, it is unclear whether footage was captured or usable in identifying the suspect. The lack of proactive safety planning makes these spaces hazardous, especially for those who are uninvolved in any conflict but happen to be present. Detroit Police Department faces well-documented issues with underfunding, staffing shortages, and case backlog. When violent crimes occur, particularly at night, the available response units may be stretched across multiple emergencies. Investigations that lack immediate leads often go cold, not from disinterest, but from a lack of manpower and resources. In Wilbert's case, no arrests have been made. The suspect remains at large. There is no indication of strong public leads, forensic follow-up, or consistent press updates. The police may be working the case, but the results are minimal. This fits a broader pattern in urban cities where violent crimes, especially those without immediate witnesses or confessions, take years to solve, if they are solved at all. Black women are consistently underrepresented in media coverage of violent crimes. Their cases receive less airtime, fewer updates, and less social media traction than those of white or high-profile victims. This disparity in coverage affects public pressure, which in turn affects investigative urgency. Donae Wilbert was a young mother, working class, and non-celebrity. Her story briefly made headlines in local outlets like Fox 2 Detroit and Click on Detroit, but national platforms did not amplify her case. As coverage faded, so did public urgency. In many communities, the disappearance or murder of a black woman does not receive the same level of scrutiny. That gap matters. Attention drives tips. Media drives visibility. The lack of both results in prolonged injustice. Wilbert died trying to stop a fight. This fact raises important questions. What are the consequences for those who try to de-escalate public violence? Society often praises peacekeepers, but offers no real protections for them. In a city environment where tempers escalate quickly and firearms are readily accessible, attempting to calm a situation can turn a person into a target. Wilbert's actions, by all available reports, were nonviolent. She tried to break up a confrontation between other individuals. Yet after diffusing the fight inside, she was followed outside and shot. This illustrates a dangerous reality. Helping others in public disputes carries risk. Without community norms of conflict de-escalation, and without structural protections, peacemakers can become casualties. Do you know anything about the night of September 4th, 2023, outside Hollywood, Coney Island in Detroit? Were you there? Did you see someone suspicious? Have you heard someone speak about it? The smallest detail can make a difference. Names, descriptions, footage. Any clue could be vital. Do you believe more could have been done to prevent this? Do you think the system has failed Donae Wilbert, her family, and her community? Then act on it. Megaphones share this story. Share her name. Share this case. Visibility is the first step to justice. The more this case is seen and discussed, the harder it becomes for it to be ignored or forgotten. Telephone receiver if you have any information. No matter how small, submit an anonymous tip to Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK. UP. Or contact the Detroit Police Department's Homicide Unit directly. Candle to keep her memory alive or support her family. Visit the Gun Violence Memorial page for Donae Wilbert. Backhand index pointing right, https://gunmemorial.org/2023/09/0/4/Donae-Wilbert. The questions remain unanswered, but someone, somewhere knows something. Don't let this story end in silence. If you found this story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. And if you want to hear more true crime stories that uncover the mysteries behind these tragic events, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest stories, updates, and discussions. Thank you for joining us on this journey to seek justice and explore the truth. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.